of business people, university students and high school students slave through years to acquire a certificate at the end of their endeavors. The question is, does this certificate reflect their gifts and talents? That is a question that is posed in the class tonight. Welcome to the program. Joining us now is Professor Humphrey Obora, Head of Missions DALC. Professor, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much indeed.
All right. Education. It's changing, and as we move from the 21st to the 22nd century, clearly our models of education must change with them. Of course, many employers deem certificates to be important. Why don't you give us a few comments on this?
Well, the idea of papers came many years back because during that time, anything recorded on paper in the form of transcript or certificates clearly correlated with the skills and knowledge that was acquired in a classroom. As technology has made us advance in the production of certificates and relevant papers, it has become very difficult to know whether what is being presented to you correlates with what was actually acquired in the classroom or in the workplace. And so, with that kind of scenario, it becomes very difficult for somebody to know whether the person coming to you looking for employment is qualified or not. Now, this is very widespread, especially in Africa. And one of the things that we must do away with when we exit the 21st century and embrace the 22nd century, we must define a new model that gets away from the deception of papers into the realities of skills and knowledge.
Okay, what did you say to employers who still feel that these papers are very important?
There are two types of employers. Employers that want skills and knowledge and would like to measure them within time frame. And there are employers that do not really care because the money is not coming from them. Maybe it's donated from elsewhere or it's a government. A serious employer will not just be interested whether you have skills and knowledge alone. They will be very concerned about whether you can identify weaknesses or problems that do exist in the organization and whether you got the right knowledge and skill matrix that can be able to design new solutions and that you can be able to implement the solutions so that they can remain competitive. That's why in today's many top-notch institutions, interviews require panelists to give you a task to handle. And if you can be able to do that, that's when you can be taken to the next level. We got very many cases where people have not yet even qualified, but they have indicated that they do have other potentials which are beyond education. They have gone for interviews and they've beaten flat those who presented huge papers. We need to move away from over-reliance on mere papers. We need to define and align ourselves in Africa especially with the new models of education that will make us improve from the many difficulties that we keep talking about, especially in Africa, where every news or newspaper or TV is about how we are failing. And I think we need to embrace that quickly.
How about the graduates who still peg their futures on these papers?
I need to advise people that education is not very complicated. Education is not in a classroom. Education is with you wherever you're walking. As a matter of fact, your teacher only needs to guide the flow of energy of knowledge to some productivity. Any intelligent person can now know that if you only acquired papers and you hope that you're going to get a job, then you are really fooling yourself. In fact, you've not done your homework of investment. Because we now know that if you're spending hundreds of thousands, millions of shillings for the education of your child, selling your cows, house, using all the money that you've been saving, and then your son is going to be confronted with a newspaper advert saying that they require somebody with an MBA with 7 years working experience and must have worked in a reputable organization which is of this cadre, then a chill needs to go down your spine that you might not get that job. We have now known a number of graduates that are pushing wheel carts. We have seen a number of graduates roasting maize, doing all kind of shoddy jobs because they got to survive. They do have papers, though, but the papers can't work for them. And this is the folly of the wrong dream of education. And this is, again, a new reason why we need to encourage our young people not to think job seeking. They need to think job creation. And I think this is essential for a continent like Africa.
There is a growing number of Kenyans fresh from universities with hopes of landing well-paying jobs as soon as their names are read on their graduation day. But that hope fades with every job application that has not been returned with an answer. Opposition leader Raila Odinga says this may be attributed to a disconnect between what is taught in schools and what the job market actually wants.
We have to rethink the structure of our education.
The Ministry of Education has rolled out a competency-based curriculum that is now on a drive to sensitize teachers on its benefits. The curriculum, according to the government, will be focusing on nurturing a child from the early years on their competencies and build upon them. Odinga says that is the way to go.
We need to support education reforms that help us to focus more on activity or doing rather than just learning. This will lead to the emergence of innovative and transformative minds able to provide solutions to the challenges besetting our society. We will also take care of everyone who proceed to university and those who drop out. This new thinking must take root right from early years of education through our high schools and universities and colleges. The labor market is suffering significant skills mismatch. It is the clearest evidence that the qualifications and experiences that young job seekers possess clearly do not align with what employers are looking for.
Today we meet a professional who believes in what he calls academic prescriptions. Professor Humphrey Obora, the head of missions at DALK Education, explains why the process of admission based on grades alone is unfair. He believes that education should be based entirely on ability and brain capacity.
Our admission process is not based merely on grades because we consider a lot more factors. One of them could be a candidate failed because the candidate was sick before examinations. That does not make the candidate the new idiot you're looking for in town. A candidate could fail because the candidate was in and out of class because of lack of school fees. That does not make the person a fool. A candidate could panic in an examination. A candidate could have any other issues that are non-academic, have nothing to do with the person's potential. And the person gets a D+, gets a C-, and the Joint Admissions Board says the minimum to join the university is a B-. So your life is cut off. And you really wanted to become a medic. You really wanted to become a great businessman. You want to become a computer software engineer. You cut off from university education. And we say that's not right. You need to do a professional assessment, biased to gift and talent testing, so that you find the person minus the grades, because that is what is going to determine that person's future.
Who has said that if you don't get, for example, a C+, then you are a failure? In fact, if you think that because you have a C, you have failed, then you are stupid. You are not stupid because you have a C. You are very stupid because you think you have failed. Do you get the point? You haven't failed anything. That was an exam meant to only see one aspect of you. And I will use my life again to show you. Somebody I know does some business at home of animals. And there is somebody who dropped out of school even before standard 7. When you see what that person is doing with the farm animals, you will wonder and think this person was trained in animal husbandry. So it is important to go where your heart is. And if the parents are listening, parents should also stop telling children, oh, I want you to be a doctor. I want you to be an engineer. I want you to be a lawyer. In my other life as a vice chancellor of the University of Nairobi, I have seen people who have done medicine and engineering and given back the certificate to the parents. So now, Daddy, let me now do mine. This was for you.
Do you have years of life and work experiences in your career, but the lack of a university degree is holding you back? You're not alone. Many successful people who are brilliant and gifted equally missed out on a traditional schooling. But what if your life and work experiences on the job could count towards a college degree? Well, guess what? They can. Introducing Matric, the revolutionary program that turns your real-world experience into college credits. Built a business? Managed a team? Matric can translate those skills into a bachelor's, master's, or even PhD much faster and at much lower costs. Don't let a mere lack of academic papers hold you back. Join governors, MPs, and CEOs who've used Matric to achieve their academic goals. Matric experiential accreditation clinics are now open in Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Meru, and Eldoret. For more information, call us or visit our website. Are you naturally intelligent but like